Hey, deserving listeners, the Twin Flames documentary on Amazon. Let's watch.
A year and a half, like he put his hands around my neck and like I didn't think he was gonna stop. Twin Flame coaching told me that, oh, it's okay. He's trying to be your divine masculine. I was emotionally overwhelmed, very damaged, very traumatized. I was looking for help.
Yeah, another example. We saw this in the last documentary about how the members are being forced to endure abuse, an abusive partner, or be abusive and stalk their supposed twin flames. There was a whole scene that I didn't show where one of the members was saying, well, there's this one person that I really want to be with. And Jeff's like, well, that's your twin flame, of course. Tell us about him. And she says something like, well, he has a girlfriend. And then Jeff says, how long has he had a girlfriend? And the member says, 14 years. It's like, oh, okay. Because you think, girlfriend, maybe it's 6 months, 3 months. And Jeff didn't divert. He's like, well, that's your person. And then he begins to berate the member of, are you going to pursue this person? Are you doing the right thing by God? Are you doing what I want you to do? Are you kicking ass and taking names? Or are you just going to be a wet noodle? That's not what he said, but stuff like that. So, I don't know. It's just, so not only is the cult harming members, but the cult is making the members be harmed by other people. Like partners that these members are like, I don't know if I want to be with this person. And then they're like, yes, you need, regardless of anything. It's just, wow.
My coach told me to do the mirror exercise.
If you're constantly being told all of this is your fault, you really kind of lose track of reality.
Right. This is another part of the cult that this documentary I think is better at depicting, which is how insidious that mirror exercise is over time, how you just start believing it's always your fault and that Jeff can define when you are wrong. And if you're wrong, then it must be your fault. If life isn't going your way, especially if it's not going the way that Jeff wants it to go, then it's my fault, right? Because in the beginning, you can imagine the mirror exercise not having that vibe to it. It's like, I'm really angry at my mom. Well, what are you angry at her? Well, she is critical of me. She's always so critical of me. I just hate her. Okay, let's do a mirror exercise. Like I talked about before, how it could be helpful to, at least just as a thought exercise, to do this. You could do it for yourself of someone that you're upset with, particularly if it's someone close to you, and just try it on for size. But don't take it as fact, but just use it as a tool to explore. So you ask the person, well, do the mirror exercise, and okay, well, I'm angry at myself because I'm critical. It's possible the person will discover something about themselves and think, yeah, I guess I am kind of critical, and maybe I'm kind of critical of my mom, and when I saw her last, I was being critical, and then that triggered her, and she got critical with me. Okay, maybe, but not all the time, obviously. Probably a very small minority of the time does this thought exercise actually pan out. So in the beginning, you have maybe members that are like, oh, okay, that's kind of an interesting way of looking at it. And you get used to that being helpful, especially if there's all this footage of Jeff saying, like, you have good things in your life now because of me. Because he doesn't even necessarily say the program. It's like, me. It's because of me. And you're like, oh, well, I guess, it starts out reasonable. And then over time, it's just this slow, they call it the frog that's being slowly cooked, in the pot with the water. Apparently frogs will jump out, by the way, in real life, but, the metaphor kind of works. And then, a year later, you just believe everything is your fault. And of course, if you have traumas around being blamed, which a lot of women will have compared to men, but just a lot of people will have, then you're more susceptible to this. It fits. It feels right. And So and then when you're in that state, then you're completely helpless. There's nothing that you can do. You believe you're always wrong. It's gaslighting.
Who you really are.
I feel like the only way to get out is to get away, because he just keeps bullying me.
That's who puts you in that position.
I don't want him. Like, I cannot stand the way he acts.
Oh, you don't want yourself, and that's why you're pushing yourself out of your own home.
No.
It's so weird and astonishing that these two managed to brainwash and gaslight people into believing, like, because for me, I haven't been gaslit by them. I haven't been brainwashed by them. I was raised well enough to not be that susceptible to this. So when I see this stuff, I'm like, wouldn't everyone, because there's multiple people typically in these classes, at the very least, there's one person talking. For me, you would think the person would just immediately be like, what? See ya, hang up. And it's particularly if other members were watching this, you'd just be like, what's going on here? I'm done with this. And most certainly some people must have, right? But enough people stayed that what it points to is that slow ramp up to that point and the desperation of the members based on maybe their own traumas, the cultural influence, the cultural notions that there's a bunch of other. I've been trying to figure out why this happens and why it happened here. And one of the areas I keep looking at is how society indoctrinates people into a way of thinking that makes them susceptible to this kind of stuff. And I've already commented on some, but another one that I'm thinking of, or maybe two, is the idea of matchmaking and the idea of gurus or online self-help. I mean, people might even consider me to be one of these individuals, right? But I am not really in contact, especially in this way, with folks. And I would like to think that I'm not out to exploit anybody, you know? So, but there's this attraction to finding voices that can validate and can be that, that lighthouse in the storm, some guidance of like, where do I go? And an expert, someone who seems like they know what they're doing, someone who is confident, someone who seemingly has it all figured out. So I think that culture has been used by them, and I think it makes members more susceptible to it. And I guess the antidote to that is to, because there's something wrong with seeking experts or guidance or mentorship or something like that, wisdom, but I guess there should be some kind of question that people have, that they ask themselves as followers. Like you can ask yourself in relation to me, if you've watched more than one of my videos. If you've only watched one, then I suppose, well, that'd be weird if you just started watching in the middle of the series. But anyway, you could ask yourself, do you have the power to disapprove of me? Do you have the power to disagree with me? Do you have the power to stop consuming my content? Do you have the power to talk with other people in a negative way about me? I would like to think all those answers are yes, you have that power. Sometimes to my chagrin, I guess another question that you would ask yourself is, do I claim that I have a monopoly on some special helping power? I would like to think that everyone has heard me emphasize that I am but one of millions of people in my field that are good at what we do. I mean, if I might be so bold to say that I'm good at what I do, and however good that is, say average to above average or something, because the average therapist is probably pretty good. I'm in that category, and there's millions of others. There's also other YouTubers who are probably just as good, if not better, than me. So I would like to think that I've given that message. So I think those are the questions that people need to be taught to ask themselves, because it's like with love bombing. people can get confused about it because they'll look at the signs instead of the core of it, which is freedom. If someone is totally in love with you and you are maybe falling in love with them, you're in the beginning of a relationship and someone's just like, oh my God, I love you so much. And you're like, well, maybe, but you're not quite ready. And then you think, oh, it's love bombing, because they're very complimentary. They want to get married. They want to have kids. They want to spend all their time with me. They're always praising me and telling me how great I am. This is love bombing. Well, the difference between love bombing and just falling in love is, do you have the freedom to say no? Can you say, I don't want to hang out today, I'm sorry, to the person that is loving you? Can you say, I want to go a little slower. I don't want to get married. I don't want to get engaged. I don't want to move in yet. I don't even want to talk about that stuff. Can't we just date? For someone that truly loves you and doesn't have a propensity towards abuse, which is, love bombing is a form of abuse, whether conscious or not, then the other person, they might be a little disappointed, but they're not oriented in that way of control. The love bomber either manipulates through love, or they legitimately love you and they're abusive and they can't take no for an answer. And any kind of distance attachment-wise, they resort to control. And so if you say, I'm not interested in talking about getting married yet, maybe in the future, that's such a threat to them that they have to shut you down. They're oriented in that way. So, it's similar there. The other cultural notion that I think makes people susceptible to this and other problems is the idea that matchmakers work. I looked into the science. I've talked about this before. Long and the short of it, there's a lot of details. It seemingly at this point is impossible to determine and predict that two people would be attracted to each other and or would be in a long-term relationship, let alone in a relationship for the rest of their lives. And along those lines, there's no way that an individual can tell. But you have a lot of people that believe that and have been told that by various different things, TV shows like Married at First Sight, this kind of thing. And different online dating groups will claim that they have this secret formula to predict that you're going to work out with someone. And to some extent, there's a self-fulfilling prophecy sometimes that'll happen where, and they've tested this too, that you just take two random people and you say, you will work out together, because all of our testing of your personalities has told us that you're perfect for each other. Those two individuals are more likely to give the other person the benefit of the doubt, such that they are more likely to kind of work out, at least in the short term, because they've been convinced that it's going to work out. So sometimes matchmaking is just that. You have this magical, or sometimes, it's like astrology or religion like this. And someone just says, God told me that you two are made for each other. And if you believe that kind of stuff, then it helps you to push past your barriers and work on your issues such that you end up staying together longer, because otherwise you would have been like, well, I don't know about this person. Whereas now you're just like, well, I guess I have to deal with you. You know what I mean? But of course, it could force people into relationships that they shouldn't be in. So I think that notion of this matchmaking ability, which doesn't exist, everyone's indoctrinated into it. These people come along and claim something similar. I think it makes people susceptible to being brainwashed.
Don't act like that.
Yes, you do. You're acting like it right now.
No, I don't.
It's
like,
mirrored back to you.
You're just fucking with my family.
Wow. The other documentary didn't give us this much footage of this. I mean, this woman is suffering, is being abused, begging for some validation, is at least up until this point believing in Jeff, believing in the community and the program, and to be just berated and told that that's your twin flame, that abusive person, you need to be with that person. And then as you start to cry, you're being ridiculed and laughed at in front of everyone. I mean, wow.
That's why you sat through every class. You dealt with all the hard shit. You showed up today. You're not happy alone, are you?
I always choose to be happy, and I already am. And I want to keep being happy, and I never
That's
run
your
away.
lie. You're not happy. You are numbed out. You cannot be happy without your twin flame.
But I am happy.
Wow. Yeah. I just want to go to her and say, just hang up and give it some thought and talk with some people outside of this group. Tell them your experience. Tell me what your experience. What was that like? How did you feel? Because it's just watching someone be gaslit and brainwashed and abused and harmed, to be told you're not happy. That's what it's not, gaslighting isn't the way everyone else uses it, or at least that's not the clinical definition. In that, for gaslighting, it is this world that the abusive person will create for someone and will tell the individual that they don't even know themselves. They don't know how to judge reality. And for her to be like, I am happy. No, you're not. You're not happy. You're, what do you say? You're numb or something. And to be told that over and over again, eventually you just say, so for some people, they might even be pretty confident that they are indeed happy. But it's just easier to give in. It's just easier to say, okay, fine, I'm not happy. Even though in your heart, you know that you're happy. But when you say the words and you put that out there, that does have an effect on yourself. It starts to influence you. You start to figure out a way to make it work in your head. And you rinse and repeat that over time. And then later on, you will believe, I don't know how I feel. I don't know who I am. And of course, in order for him to have power, he has to make sure that they're unhappy, especially if they're not doing what he wants them to do. And it's hard to watch.
I've had about enough of that, Marie-Sophie. I've had about enough of your disrespect of me.
It's getting pretty old.
Disrespect because she won't stalk someone, or I don't know what exactly he's asking her to do regarding this other person, but she doesn't want to be with that other person, and so it's disrespectful to him, and also disrespectful to him because she claims that she's happy. And this documentary highlights the religious aspects more. I just want to keep mentioning that. Actually, you see behind them on the mantle, there's pictures of Jesus, I think. So there's a lot more of them tapping into that, of having those conversations with the members, like, you want to be right by God, or you want to do what God wants for you, right? And apparently they had convinced the members that they had a direct line to God in terms of what God wanted, which a lot of religions and cults will do.
I will not be abused by you, Marie-Sophie. You don't know better than God.
Yeah. Well, and then I won't be abused by you, which of course is a classic abusive thing to say. Of course, not everyone that says that is abusive. Sometimes victims say that, but abusers will use that and will say, I'm not abusing you, you're abusing me. If the abusive person has enough power, especially over one's mind, then victims will walk away thinking that they are indeed abused, or that they are abusive.
And you must surrender to him.
Right. There's a lot of that talk. And of course, I'm sure there's a lot more footage of this that we're not being shown, but he uses God as a replacement. It's like, you're not going to defy God, are you? You don't think you're better than God, do you? But really what he's saying is, you're not going to defy me. You don't think you're better than me.
It just didn't make sense for me, because all that time, that was like almost 2 years, I had a great experience. And it wasn't until then that I realized this is wrong.
Right. So in contrast to the other documentary on Netflix, this shows the story beat of that same story beat where Jeff and Shalia are starting to kind of freak out because a lot of the members have been members for a long time and still have not found their twin flame. And the previous documentary on Netflix, at that story beat was when they decided they were going to shove everyone together regardless of sexuality or gender. And in this one, though, and it was like 20 people that they had this revelation. We had this revelation that these 20 people are now twin flames, among the membership. In this one, it was like 14 or 16 people. So maybe they did it multiple times where there was a crisis, or maybe there were different groups. Maybe this is the Wednesday night group, and the Netflix group was the Tuesday night group, or I don't know.
And that was it. Like, that was the end. That was when they blocked me. As a result, everywhere, and I was out.
Yeah, it's another classic components or characteristic or criteria for a cult, which is that if you defy, then we're done with you. And of course, if you're dependent on the group for love, for your occupation, for hope, then you'll do anything to retain that. And so you'll just keep obeying the abusive cult leader. But it sounds like for her, she had the freedom to leave in that moment. But they also showed that she was one of the individuals that they shoved together with another member, and it was this random guy that was in the group who was looking for his twin flame, and she was looking for her twin flame. And so they shoved them both together, and she immediately knew that, no, that guy is not my twin flame. She didn't go into detail, but it seemed like she was saying there's no attraction there, or, who knows. But so that's what prompted her to start to defy and then eventually leave. All right, well, that does it for yet another episode of Psychology in Seattle. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really, really do.